Hey y'all, thanks for stopping by. I'm Infinite Enzo, and today we are doing something a little bit different than I normally do. We are going to go over my knife collection. This video is the first part in a series. It's going to be probably about 4 videos, and today we're just going to focus on knives that I consider to be kind of standards in the EDC realm. They're reasonably affordable. Most of them you can find pretty easily enough, and they're just great everyday carry options. And I'm doing this as kind of a thank you, because I just hit 100 subscribers, and I know in the grand scheme of YouTube that's nothing at all, but it means a lot to me. I never really thought that I would even get that many. So thanks to everybody who's been subscribed to me. I'm not going to prattle on about that. Let's just open this box up and get into it. There are multiple layers to this box, but as I said, tonight we were just going to focus on this top shelf here. So these are some knives that I consider to be, all of these are candidates just for perfect, well, not perfect, but pretty darn close to perfect EDC knives. So let's start off on the left here. This is the Spyderco Native 5 and S110V. This was a gift from my good buddy Corey, one of my best friends. He happens to live out near Boulder, Colorado, which isn't too far from Golden, which is the home base of Spyderco. And he goes to their second sales whenever he can, and he went to one and picked this up for me. It's an awesome knife. I really love it. It is definitely, as I said earlier, I was mentioning perfect EDC knives. This knife, as well as this Benchmade 531 here, those two in particular to me represent just kind of the apex of what an EDC knife should be. Easy to use, pretty small. I actually prefer big knives generally, but I think if you're going for just pure EDC, a slimmer size is usually the way to go. Both of these come in right around 3 inches. But the highlights of this one in particular, of course, are the S110V steel. The steel is incredible. It has really amazing edge retention. It's a little chippy, but nothing too crazy. As far as daily, day-to-day tasks, it's going to do just fine for you. You don't even need to worry about it. The edge retention is just out of this world. I don't believe it's currently available in the G10, but you can still get it in the Blurple FRN, and the benefit of that is it's lighter than this model. So yeah, really great knife. Ergonomics are fantastic, especially in this grip right here. Another thing that I really like is that you can choke up like this and really bear down on that tip, which with what I do a lot of leather working, and that kind of a positioning for draw cuts is really useful to me. So that is the Spyderco Native 5 and S110V and Blurple. And up next we have the 531 by Benchmade. This is a really cool knife. It's got kind of a coffin-shaped handle. Initially what drew me to it was just the slimness of it. It's a very slim design, and what's interesting about it is that it's actually a precursor to the Bug Out. And when the Bug Out came out, I always thought it was kind of funny, because I feel like this knife already accomplished the ultra lightweight, ultra compact goal that the Bug Out was going for. But in any case, the difference here is that we have G10 handles, so it doesn't quite have that flex that the Bug Out has with those polycarbonate or plastic or whatever those handles are, FRN, GFN. It doesn't have that flex. It's quite rigid. And the blade steel is 154 cm, which is a Benchmade classic. Fantastic steel. It's not powder steel, it's ingot steel, but it takes a really sharp, sticky edge, like just wants to cut into things. And it's very easy to maintain. You can strop it right up. Sharpening it is not a problem at all. Just a really, and it's reasonably tough too. It's just a good steel. Also, this blade is really thinly ground, as you'll see here. Really fantastic slicer. If this had been a hollow grind, this thing would just be like a lightsaber. But still, in this flat grind, it's still really nice. Price on this one was about $130 when I got it. I don't know if they're still being produced. They're probably not. I would imagine the Bug Out has taken the place of the 531. But another nice thing about it too, as you can see here, it's a Mel Pardew design, so that's really neat. But in any case, G10 handles, as I said earlier, they're nicely textured, good grip. I heard Nick Shabazz make a joke once that the color scheme on these scales is the knife world equivalent of a tactical t-shirt. I like it. I think it looks kind of cool. It's actually layered black and white, but it comes off kind of blue in some ways. I'm a big fan of it. I think it looks great. It comes stock with the phallus clip that we all know from Benchmade. I replaced that obviously with the deep carry option, but in any case, still a great knife, even now, years later, now that we have the bug out. So that is the Benchmade 531. Up next, oh man, this is a classic, y'all, with my horrible attempt at doing a Duracoat finish. This is the Ontario Knife Company Rat 2. This one's an Aus 8. This was even before they started doing them in D2. But honestly, Aus 8, I still have a soft spot in my heart for Aus 8. I think it's an okay steel. Not nearly as bad as people like to give it crap for. I found it to be reasonably tough too. Edge retention obviously is not great, but I mean, it gets the job done. I mean, just for carrying around every day. I actually used this. This knife went to Iceland with me actually, which was a great experience. And I will say too, that's a reason that all these knives I have and I continue to keep in my collection is usually because I had some sort of cool experience with them. I got attached to it for some reason or other. And for me, this knife has just had it was my first kind of well-made knife, if that makes sense. And it's been all over the place with me. And even though I don't use it so much now these days it's more of a workshop knife for me. I'm never going to sell it. This knife has a permanent place in the collection. Handles are FRN. They are quite comfortable. Ergonomics are good. They're a little bit squished on the Rat 2 compared to the Rat 1. But all in all, it feels pretty good. You can also kind of choke up a little bit there, though that's not really an official choil or anything. But great little knife. Action's fantastic. The action you get on Rats for, geez, like 30 bucks or whatever it is, it's awesome. So that is the Ontario Knife Company Rat number 2. All right, this one, boy, this one made a big impact on me in 2020. If you caught my favorite knives of 2020 video, this one was up there with the Sage 1 and Maximet for my knife of the year. Just a fantastic budget piece. So this is the Tucson TS232. Man, that action is phenomenal. So Tucson is a Chinese company primarily selling on eBay. And the downside of buying from them is that you usually have to wait for shipping from China. So you're looking at about a 4-week shipping period. That said, you can track them down sometimes from sellers in the US. And in that case, I usually urge people to check them out, especially on their budget side. They did have some issues with their higher end stuff coming in M390 steel, as well as S90V. Pete at Cedric and Ada Gear and Outdoors tested their S90V and the numbers weren't doing what S90V should do. So you might want to think about it before you buy one of their higher end options, but for this right here, 14C28N, fantastic budget steel. It's a Sandvik steel. Like 154CM, it takes a really sticky, sharp edge, and it's very easy to maintain. It's just a great budget steel that we don't see a lot of for some reason. I don't know why, but definitely underutilized. Handles are titanium, and not only that, they are beautifully jigged titanium. I kind of refer to this as cathedral jigging because it reminds me of stained glass windows. I don't know why, but that's just what comes to mind when I look at it. The divots in the titanium elongate as the handle, as you go down the handle, you can see that they get longer. Really beautiful aesthetic. We have a milled titanium clip here. We have a titanium backspacer. Backspacer's held in place with positioner pins, and then this screw right here. So we have pretty minimal screw footprint on the handle here. It's not overbearing. The action is just insane. Really nice, kind of, I mean, it's drop shut. It's a drop shut action. Once you get that lock bar out of the way, it just kind of wants to drop right shut. The reason that is, I think, is in combination with the fact that it's on bearings. It also has a fairly thick blade stock for the size of this knife. It's a little bit thicker than you'd expect, but it's hollow ground, so it still slices like a beast. Really fantastic knife. If you see a Tucson TS232 available in the US, I would go for it. This one I got for $55. I've seen them go around $69 to $70 as well. So worth checking out, the Tucson TS232. What a piece of work. I also have a video available on a takedown of this knife. That's Takedown Talk 3, and I'll pop the card up here, right around here somewhere. So if you're interested in this knife, I definitely recommend you check out that video. There's a lot of information on it there. Okay, up next, the Artisan Arroyo. Sorry for anybody that speaks Spanish. I'm sure I just really butchered that. The Artisan Arroyo. This is a really cool design from Artisan, and I think it's a great example of how they are kind of taking things by storm lately. This came out in December of 2020 or January of 2021, somewhere around there. And what's neat about it is that it's using Artisan's new proprietary steel, AR RPM 9. Now that steel is kind of a budget powder steel, which is kind of neat. You don't usually see powder steels coming in at this price point, which this knife was $45 when I bought it. Insane for 45 bucks. People have been comparing RPM 9 to 9CR 19 MOV, except in a powder form. So the idea there is, since it's made through powder metallurgy process, the carbides and other elements are more evenly distributed throughout the composition, resulting in, as I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it results in just a stronger grain and easier sharpening and longer lasting edges. And again, guys, I'm not a steel composition expert, so if I said something that's not necessarily correct, feel free to correct me there. But anyway, in my experience, the steel has been really great, holds an edge for a good long time, and you can strop it right up and it's sharp again. The handles here is really what caught my eye. The handles are acrylic. They call this an oil slick acrylic. I think it's really handsome. It's also available in G10 as well as a really good looking micarta. The design is by Dirk Pinkerton, and it's definitely, you can look at it and see that it's his design language. We have this trailing point tip here and kind of a Persian blade shape. It's definitely reminiscent of Persian swords and knives. And just all in all, just such a handsome package. Action's fantastic, very snappy. Really hard detent, I will tell you guys, at least mine is quite a hard detent. But once you get used to it, it's not so much an issue. And I wouldn't quite call it drop shut, but it's definitely swing shut, if you know what I mean. But yeah, just an addictive action, easy to carry, really awesome everyday carry option for you guys at 45 bucks. The Artisan Arroyo. I got this one at White Mountain Knives. They had a few other acrylic options. Not sure where they're at now, but you can find this knife at a lot of places. All right, oh boy, here this is a classic here, guys. The Buck 110. This version is one of the more modern ones. This is the Buck 110 lightweight, and it was also special ordered by SK Blades. SK Blades is a really neat company that does special batch orders of classic buck knives in really neat steels and really in different designs. I've never seen one with this red color handle, so that was one thing I really liked, but the big catch for me was Paul Bose heat treated CPM 154. How cool is that to see CPM 154 in a Buck 110? That's awesome. And this was 40 bucks. It's just absurd. So SK Blades called this the smoke jumper. That was their name for this particular knife. And I don't think they're available anymore, but SK Blades is definitely worth keeping an eye on. I suggest you go to their website and see what they have on hand. It may not be a lot right now, but I think they're working to kind of get things rolling again. They had to slow down after COVID started, but hopefully they're going to be back on track soon. They had a blue version of this as well called the Shield that was also in CPM 154. I've done a couple of other mods to it. I added this thumb stud here that mounts directly onto the spine. You can get these on the internet all day long. They're very easy to find, and they just screw right in here and tighten up on the spine, and it hasn't budged an inch on me ever since I started using it. Obviously the action's a bit stiff for one-handed opening. This is a Buck 110. It's not a fidgety knife by any means, but once you get used to it, it feels great. Very sturdy. I also added this pocket clip here. This is a Benchmade, this is the phallus clip I referenced earlier. Probably came off this knife right here actually. But I didn't tap it or anything, I just drilled it directly in. I will say though, those screws just bind right into the plastic. This thing is not budging, and it has been on here a long time. So just another option if you want something a little bit more of a modern take on the Buck 110. So that is the Buck 110 SK Blades Smoke Jumper. Awesome knife, awesome name. All right, guys, this one I'm not so proud of. I'm sure you guys have already guessed. This is a fake Strider. This is a Strider clone. As I said, I'm not super proud of it, but I'll be honest with you guys. Currently, Strider SNGs and SMFs new are going for about $450 to $500. I can't drop that much money on a single knife. I just can't do it. And on the secondary market, you don't even want to know. They're going for like $800 to $1,000. And I'm not saying they're not worth it. I totally believe they are. I just, as I said, I don't have the ability to drop that amount of money on a single knife. So when I saw this popped up on eBay, and I just love Strider's design language, but I just knew I would never be able to get one. So I went ahead and got it. I will say it's pretty well made, titanium handles. It's got the double gunner grips that Strider's famous for. Thankfully, they didn't try to put a Strider logo anywhere on the blade. It's just a totally blank blade. Supposedly it's D2. It's performing like D2. I don't really have any other way to verify it though. The way that you can tell that this is not a Strider knife in actuality, aside from the fact that there's no maker's mark, is that Striders use a monoblock construction. It's a G10. One scale is G10 and the backspacer is integrated into that scale, and then the lock side is usually titanium. This obviously is a titanium backspacer, so that's not something Strider does. So that's your giveaway right there that it's a fake. But you know, as I said, I really wanted to handle that. Now, here's your alternative if you want a Strider, and I have one of these which we'll get to in a later video. The ProTech Strider SNG is awesome. It's roughly 200 to anywhere to 700. But like I said, you can get them at the base level for about 200 to 250, and they are excellent. And I do have one of those. But anyway, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I have a clone. I'm not gonna hide it from you or anything. But I did want to give that little disclaimer. You definitely don't want to support cloners. It's not a great practice. Okay, up next, the Ontario Knife Company Carter Prime. The ultimate budget titanium frame lock. This thing is so cool. I got this for 75 bucks, and oh man, it's an impressive knife for that amount of money. Not the craziest action. Boy, it snaps open though. And you can swing it shut. So, as I said, handles are titanium. The blade is D2 in a black wash. And I did kind of a funky mustard patina on this for fun. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but I think it looks kind of cool. So our handles are titanium. We have a titanium milled pocket clip here. I put a brushed, like a hard brush finished on that. And then I also did a hard brush finished on the backspacer here. A very soft brushed finish on the scales. So it actually, the whole thing is much more of a monochromatic design from the factory, and it resembles the scales rather than this kind of hard brushing. But I'm happy with it. I liked messing with this knife. I had a lot of fun with it. And it's still a knife that I enjoy. I don't carry it quite as much these days, but for the amount of money, it is definitely a great EDC option if you want something kind of fidgety, kind of fun, and without a huge price tag. The Ontario Knife Company Carter Prime. Okay guys, my favorite budget blade. This is the Kershaw QC11K, designed by the almighty Ernest Emerson of Emerson Knife Company. What am I saying? This knife is pretty cool though, because it's actually directly based off the Emerson Rendezvous, which as far as I know, there's not been any other Kershaw Emerson design that was based 100% off an actual Emerson design. So that's pretty cool. The big difference is though, the Emerson version is a liner lock. This is obviously a frame lock, and the lock side is stainless steel, and our show side is G10. His is G10 on both sides. But other than that, I mean, it's a fantastic knife. So our steel here is D2. These were also available in HCR14 for a while. I don't think they are anymore though. Very sturdy, very robust knife. I absolutely love that blade shape. kind of a long banana-shaped blade, kind of like the CQC, I want to say the CQC8. It has a similar blade shape. Really useful. It's got a kind of a hollow grind, but a very shallow shoulder here. So it's not necessarily the sliciest thing in the world, but you can tell just by looking at it. This is made more to be a combat knife. It locks into the hand thanks to these beaks on either end, and it just doesn't want to come out. So it's definitely designed more with combat in mind rather than, you know, slicing up your food. But regardless, it still makes a pretty great EDC knife. And I've done a lot to this one, as you can see. Originally the scales were bead blasted. I did an acid wash on the scales, the pocket clip, the blade, and the steel liner here. And I call that my Berserker mod. If you want to see all that, as well as a takedown, check out the video here. I believe that's Takedown Talk 11. And it gets into everything I did to this knife, as well as my overall review of it, which is very favorable. This is a great knife, guys. You can get this roughly for 52 bucks. You may even be able to find it cheaper, and it should be available at all the major knife retailers. That is the Kershaw QC11K, designed by Ernest Emerson. All right, another favorite of 2020 here, the Ferrum Forge Stinger. This is a fun knife, y'all. Very fidgety, very kind of elegant in some ways. I know that's a weird word to describe a knife, but it's very slim. It's very low profile. Action's fantastic. I've heard that these were produced by We. I'm not sure if it was We or Civivi, or if that even makes a difference since they're owned by the same sort of overall parent company. But regardless, it feels like a We. The action is very reminiscent of We. The fit and finish and overall design feels like We. And there's a lot of collaboration between them and Ferrum Forge, so there's really no surprise there. In any case, they knocked it out of the park. One thing that's really nice here is that the pocket clip is recessed into the G10 and the screw is recessed. So there's absolutely no rises or anything in the handle that makes it hard to get this thing into your pocket. It just goes right in. Really nice touch. The blade steel here in this lovely kind of drop point blade, I guess you would say. Blade steel is Nitro V. Really cool steel. You don't ever see this on folders. There's only a few folders I can think of that even have it, and they're not widely available. Usually you'll see it on fixed blades. Really nice front finger choil here, so you can grip right up on that for the detail work, as everybody likes to say. But yeah, just a fun fidgety knife. If I can flip it without failing. There we go. Yeah, highly recommended. This one was 90 bucks, I believe, when I got it. It's also available in multiple colors of G10, and I think they had some shredded carbon fiber, so check that out too. The Ferrum Forge Stinger. Nice action too. Great knife. Okay guys, this is an oldie but a goldie. Tangram Santa Fe. Tangram was Kaiser's budget brand, and they have all but disappeared. I don't know what is going on with them these days. Kaiser recently, their Instagram page got blocked or canceled for some reason, and they had to go back to their Tangram page and rebrand it as Kaiser. So for all intents and purposes, Tangram doesn't even exist anymore. In any case, their designs were really nice, really affordable. This was 29 bucks. The blade steel is a Kuto 440, which is the only blade I've ever seen it on is this knife. It's a fantastic steel. It performs similar to, I would say, like 9CR19 or maybe VG10. Really, I know that Pete at Cedric and Ada, he did some tests on the Kuto 440, so definitely look up his tests if you're interested in this knife or this steel. But yeah, it's a great steel for 29 bucks. I mean, and the other thing is the action is crazy smooth. Like silky smooth, doesn't make a sound. It's like glassy almost. And it makes you wonder why you want to spend $200 on a Spyderco Sage or a TRM Atom or TRM Neutron or something like that when this is just, it's insane. Now obviously it's not drop shut, it's on washers, but it just closes so smoothly. G10 handles, full steel liners, back spacer construction, deep carry pocket clip, not recessed, but you know what, I can forgive it at that price point. That is the Tangram Santa Fe. This has become kind of my Sometimes it's a work knife when I'm doing a job that requires me to carry something a little bit more low profile. And then sometimes it's also a travel knife. Great for those rolls. Awesome knife. Okay, last but certainly not least, a 2021 special here, the CRKT Lian Ma Lanny. So cool. If you guys are familiar with Lian Ma, he produces his Lanny design through Rayot usually, and they're very nice, very high levels of fit and finish and very high price tags. Entry-level price tag on those is about 400 bucks. Similar to my experience with Strider, where I love the design, but I just can't drop that much cash. Thankfully, CRKT came in and worked with Lian Ma and made a budget version. And let me tell you guys, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty addictive. It is an assist. So for some of y'all, I completely understand that that kind of writes it off for you. And I'll tell you, the first thing I did when I got the knife was try to see if I could de-assist it. And unless you want to try to drill or make a recess for a detent ball hole in the blade, then you can't de-assist it, unfortunately. But once you get used to the action of the assist, it's kind of addictive in some ways. It's a lot of fun, at least. I will say that CRKT was really hyping up this assist as if they'd discovered something new in the technology of assisted knives. And basically their big argument was that there's very little resistance to close. And you can see here, I'll demonstrate that. I mean, it's just totally freely moving right here. And at first I thought, oh wow, that's really cool. But then I was like, you know what, I need to test it against another assisted knife. And the first one that came to mind was my dad's Kershaw Blur using SpeedSafe. And I can tell you guys, after holding them side by side and closing them side by side, there's no difference. There might be a minuscule, little tiny difference in how much easier this one is to close, but it is completely negligible. So I do think there's a little bit too much hype around the assists. But I will say, not talking about the assist anymore, just looking at the knife, 60 bucks. And I think what you're really paying for here is how well done these handles are. This is milled aluminum with this beautiful hammer finish kind of hammering pattern on the back of the handles here. We kind of have a faux bolster up here, but in addition to that, orange peel texturing that is just awesome. It feels great in hand. Deep carry pocket clip, recessed screws, recessed into the handle. Like, that's awesome, CRKT. Now let's get to the downside though, and you know, the assist might be a downside for you. For me, I'm indifferent, but the major downside is our blade steel. As you can see, they didn't put it anywhere on there. I wonder why. Maybe because it is 8CR13 MOV for $60. Come on, guys. Like, y'all could have done 4116. You could have done 14C28N. You could have done D2 for that matter. I mean, 8CR on a Lian Ma Lanny. Come on, guys. So that kind of sucks. 8CR is not the worst thing in the world. Please don't let people make you think that it's just garbage. It's not garbage. It's not great. It's not necessarily even good, but it's not garbage. It'll still do EDC tasks for you all day long. So if you're like me and you saw this design on one of Lian Ma's expensive versions and you said, I love that design, but I'm never going to be able to experience it. Well, now you can. Great liner lock, beautiful handles, great ergonomics, and just a handsome appearance overall. If you lay this next to one of the titanium higher end Lian Ma Lannys, you'll notice the difference, but I mean, it's kind of not a huge difference in terms of aesthetic. In terms of performance, yeah, an enormous difference. But if you're looking for a Lian Ma design in a budget option, you cannot beat this CRKT Lanny.
Hey y'all! Quick little editing jump here. So like a day after I recorded this video, the assist spring, the assist bar on my Lanny broke. Awesome, knife's like a month old. I called CRKT about it. They won't send me a new assist spring. I have to mail it through the warranty service, which I'm sure is great. I'm not knocking CRKT. They probably would just flat out replace the knife for me. But I have to fiddle with stuff. So I think I'm going to take this opportunity to try to actually de-assist this knife. The reason that you can't de-assist it easily is because there's no, let me show you here. There's no detent hole, and that little hole there, that's not a detent hole. That's a hole for the assist bar. There's no detent hole for the detent ball that is on the liner lock. So I'm gonna try to make my own and then just actually make this a manual knife. So anyway, back to the video, guys. I did just want to let y'all know, like, yeah, I had the Lanny for a month and I was really enjoying it, and boom, the assist bar snapped. All right, back to the video.
Thank y'all so much for joining me for this today. As I said, I will have more videos coming. We're going to get into, the next video will probably be on my slip joints. Actually, you know what? Next video is going to be on my higher end knives, which are actually, give you guys a quick look here to see what's coming up. Just a really quick one. What? Okay, that's all you get. So we'll tune in for that whenever that's done, and then followed by that, I'll do my grail knives. And I may or may not do a video on slip joints. If you guys feel like that's something you want to see, please let me know. Also, please let me know if you're interested in me doing a full review on any of these knives. As I said, I've done one on the bench, on the Tucson here, as well as the Kershaw here. If you want to see any of these in the full review, please let me know in the comments. I'd be more than happy to do that. And have any comments, questions, you know where to leave them. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.